Listen very carefully. When you speak to a Christian, ask the question, what is God's opinion? Period. End. Jews are not really anti-Christian. We're just very pro-Moses. And Isaiah, Ezekiel, and Jeremiah are my rabbis. Not Yokel Pfeffelheimer Armstrong from Oklahoma City. He's not my rabbi.
Okay, we've got Akiva is on the phone. Akiva, go ahead with your question. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Hey, Rabbi, it's such an honor to speak with you. My question has to do with religion. You hear in Christianity that they don't have any religion. Yet in Judaism, it's stacked with religious obligations. And while I disagree with that assertion, I think there's plenty of religion in Christianity. I think the religion is you don't have to do anything. You just need to have faith. And it's bizarre. Yet, my question is, do you think that is the attraction of some Jews who are moving away from Judaism because they feel it's too burdensome?
No. I want you to know, I want to be very clear that Christians are asking very important questions. Some of them are thoughtful that deserve answers. This is a dumb one. This is a fallacy of semantics. That's all it is. I want to be very clear. Christians are making points that are valuable, that deserve to be addressed. This is not one of them. They're assigning the word religion, which means an organized understanding of a higher power. That's all it means. And what they do then is they create what's called, it's a fallacy of a complex equation. It's so convoluted. So what they do then is they say, take this word religion, like this is a word in Tanakh or something, and then assign it one very specific meaning, and that is that you have to do something to be saved. Okay? And then they say, we're therefore not a religion. This is so convoluted, it doesn't mean that. And you always can tell, you can always sniff out that you are in the company of someone who's promoting a promiscuous religion when they're trying to lock in a meaning of a word in one specific way and allow for no other. Now, where do they get this from? Where do Christians get this from? They're mean, evil, horrible people? Not at all. They hear this every Sunday, and it's fueled by low self-esteem. Well, people feel like I'm a dirty, filthy sinner. There's nothing I can do. No works of mine can save me. And therefore, Jesus died for my sins. That's where it all comes from. But they're assigning a meaning to a word. Religion just means an organized form of worshiping or believing in a higher power, in God or the gods. That's all it means. It doesn't mean that. So what they do is say, we're not a religion. Now, religion is a word in our culture, in our zeitgeist, is not a nice word. There are nicer words than that, like faith, spirituality. Those are nice words. But religion sounds like hard, old. It's just an unpleasant word. That's why Christians like to refer to the commandments as works. Why does Paul say he calls it works? Because it's not a nice word. This is all very silly. As it turns out, Christians don't believe that you don't have to keep any commandments. In fact, the churches, when it comes to this one commandment, they love. And they love tithing. Tithing. You'll ask them, why should I give tithing to the church? Why should I give 10% of my income to the church? That's a work. No, this somehow, all the rules of works and that is an exception. That you tithe because the pastor has to drive a Lexus SUV. I could tell you stories. Being invited by a pastor to speak for his community, and he was driving a Lexus SUV in Indonesia, and you could just tell the whole thing was in a place in Borneo. Not kidding, on the equator. Crazy. It was a Lexus SUV. And I don't know much about cars, but it was fancy. And he was very happy. I'm not going to go into the whole story, but when he picked me up at the airport, so I got into the passenger side, he was going to drive me in. They always insist that the rabbi or whatever goes in the passenger side. It's a crazy little story and never told. So I'm sitting there, I open the passenger door. I know they don't put the rabbi in the back. The rabbi goes in the passenger side. So I go into the passenger side. And the door is open. It was a gorgeous white Lexus SUV. It was a very nice looking car. And I'm not an expert on it, but it had all the leather and all the wood and all the trimmings. It was nice. And then he was just staring at me, and I was staring at him, and I didn't understand why he just didn't close the passenger door. And he was just looking at me, and he was dumbfounded. And I was wondering, let's get this thing going. Until I turned and looked in front of me, and I realized there was a steering wheel there. Who put that there? Didn't know that Indonesia, the steering wheel's on the wrong side. It means it follows England. So this story stands out in my mind. The tithing, that commandment they like. So what's happening is just a game. As it turns out, the Torah tells us, Deuteronomy chapter, everything. I mean, what am I even talking about here? What am I having a conversation? Look at Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 9, as an example. The Torah says that Kodesh Baruch Hu wants, the Almighty, blessed be His holy name, wants two things: be loyal to His mitzvot and to have a personal relationship with God, to love Hashem. That's all. So that's all. So if it's not that I'm anti-Christian. It's just if I have the God of Israel saying one thing and I have some shmigegi who's got a fancy SUV saying something else, I'm going with the God of Israel. As it turns out, the longest chapter in Tanakh is Psalm 119, a chapter which contains 176 passages. The whole chapter is written in an acrostic, a method that makes it easier to recall, to remember. And it's all about how lovely the Torah is, how wonderful the mitzvot are. I love the Torah, how the wicked are so far from God because they don't know the mitzvot. This is so alien to the Torah, and it's frankly alien to the Jewish people. And that's how you can see that Paul was just an outsider, not an insider. The Jews had problems in Tanakh for which they were criticized. Very rare was violating the laws of kashrut and the laws of Shabbat. It was how you treat each other. Paul was so not an insider. He was so not the person he presents himself as in Philippians 3. He was so not that. He was clueless on what Jewish life was like. The Jews didn't have a problem keeping Shabbos. They liked that. They liked keeping kosher. It's rare that the Jews are criticized for not keeping kosher. It's almost unheard of. Now, there was plenty to criticize, but the church loves tithes. This mitzvah, they love. They want that donation. They want it. That's all. So that commandment they like a lot, and it's all a game. Where do you see that the word religion means works or not works? I want to know, listen very carefully, when you speak to a Christian, ask the question, what is God's opinion? Period. End. That's all. Deuteronomy 30. Keep the Torah and love Hashem. That's it. That's it. That's what it says. To love Hashem and to keep His mitzvot. That's it. What is not? Worshipping other gods that your fathers didn't know and not keeping the Torah. That's all. That's it. And that's the God of Israel speaking. Jews are not really anti-Christian. We're just very pro-Moses. And Isaiah, Ezekiel, and Jeremiah are my rabbis. Not Yokel Pfeffelheimer Armstrong from Oklahoma City. He's not my rabbi. Rabbi Joel is my rabbi. Rabbi Isaiah is my teacher. He is the one that I follow. Rabbi Moses is my teacher, not the Shmigegi Christ Christy Jones. He's not my rabbi. That's all. That's the end. Rabbi Joshua is my rabbi. That's all. That's it. But this argument of what religion is, it isn't, from where do you get that from? Who said? Never be afraid, I'll close with this. Never be afraid when a Christian puts forward, and again, they're not bad people. This is the stuff that sermons are made out of. When Christians make these fatuous assertions, and that you've never heard of before, don't be afraid to ask the question, what is your evidence? Just tell me, what is your evidence? Just ask. See? So they assert a postulate, which means postulate in geometry means it's axiomatic, meaning it requires no evidence. No, this very much requires evidence. I want to know what your evidence is. And when we look at Tanakh, the Hebrew Bible, the evidence is overwhelming. So to repeat, Christians are not idiots. They're often not asking stupid questions. Some of their questions are pressing, are important. They shouldn't be ignored. They must be addressed. I've devoted my life to doing that. This is not one of them. This is a silly argument that's based on a vacuous claim. Thank you so much for your question. And thank all of you for your kind words, your thoughtful condolences for my father of blessed memory. Shalom. If you enjoyed this program, please like and subscribe.
אדון עולם אשר מלך בטרם כל יציר נברא ואת נעשה בחפצו כל